Our objectives for this evening's webinar are to share important facts about historically Black colleges and universities, provide practical strategies and actions, resources for applying to colleges, and share in a time of discussion with some knowledgeable panelists. We have just a few instructions to share with you for this evening's webinar. All lines will be muted until the question and answer period at the end of the webinar. Please use the chat function to post comments, ask questions, or if you need any technical assistance during the webinar. You may post questions at any time, and we will provide the answers during the Q&A session. A wealth of information will be shared this evening, so I encourage you to please grab a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, or an electronic device so that you can take notes. I will now share some background information about our sorority. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is the first historically African-American Greek-lettered sorority for educated women. The sorority was founded on the campus of Howard University on January 15, 1908. Since then, the sorority has flourished into a globally impactful organization of nearly 300,000 members. Our international program theme, under the leadership of our current international president, Dr. Glenda Glover, is exemplifying excellence through sustainable service. Within our theme falls several targets. Tonight, we will address our program target number 1, HBCU for Life, a call to action, and our signature program, #CAP, the college admissions process. And this is why we're all gathered on this webinar this evening to promote historically Black colleges and universities, as well as assist high school students through the college admissions process. This webinar series has been brought to you through the collaboration of some awesome women from 5 participating sorority chapters. Representing Gamma Delta Omega, Miss Fannie Bullock, and myself, Lakita James. Representing Gamma Gamma Omega chapter, Dr. Keyshia Smith and Miss Terry Bellamy. Representing Lambda Omega chapter, Miss Karen Bazemore Person. Representing Lambda Omega Omega chapter, Dr. Sandra Jordan. And representing Psi Psi Omega chapter, we have Dr. Christy Murray and Miss Cassandra Chambliss. The books you see before you are the reference books that have been the foundation of our summer webinar series. College Planning Strategies, I Wish Someone Had Told Me, and College Funding Strategies, I Wish Someone Had Told Me. Both books were written by Dr. Christy Murray, and they also have workbooks available to accompany them. These 2 books are great resources to assist students planning to attend college. In these resource books, you can find strategies to taking the SAT and ACT, college funding, scholarships, writing essays, writing letters of recommendations, and so many more topics, as well as general information to prepare scholars for college. If you would like to purchase these very affordable resources, please visit the website listed below, www.investinothers.com. Our agenda for this evening is to first share facts about historically Black colleges and universities. Then we'll have discussions with college officials, followed by a discussion with our college student panelists. When the discussion concludes, we will conduct a Q&A session and end with closing information, which we will also be sharing some awesome resources with you. Historically Black colleges and universities, often referred to as HBCUs, were established to serve the needs of Black Americans over 200 years ago. Prior to the time of the establishment of HBCUs, Blacks were generally denied admission to traditionally white institutions. And as a result, HBCUs became the principal means for African Americans to obtain a post-secondary education. There are currently 107 HBCUs with more than 228,000 students enrolled. HBCUs in the United States represent less than 3% of colleges and universities, enroll 12% of African American students, produce 23% of African American graduates, confer 40% of STEM degrees, and 60% of all engineering degrees are earned by African American students. HBCUs educate 50% of African American teachers, 40% of African American health professionals, 70% of African American dentists and physicians, and 58% of HBCUs offer students the opportunity to study abroad. HBCUs produce 44% of African American bachelor's degrees awarded in communications technology, 33% of African American bachelor's degrees awarded in engineering and technology, and 43% of degrees awarded for mathematics. HBCUs have 1/8 of the average amount of endowments to support their educational needs. But against all of those odds, HBCUs historically have provided an affordable education to millions of students of color and have graduated very successful professionals into our society, and that is amazing. On the campuses of HBCUs, you will find sororities and fraternities that make up the Divine Nine, which are the non-Black Greek letter organizations. These organizations represent part of the family-oriented feel that you experience on the campus of an HBCU. You will see on the campus of HBCU how the student body rallies around the Greek life for how vibrant they are, how dynamic they are, and the service they offer to our communities. The sororities of the Divine Nine are Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. The fraternities of the Divine Nine are Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Phi Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Each sorority and fraternity has its own identity and its own history, but the love and the support they offer each other and the community on an HBCU campus is impeccable. Now, historically Black colleges and universities have graduated some amazing professionals, and tonight I will highlight just a few. We have here Ruben Studdard, A&M University, Dr. Ralph Abernathy, Senior, Civil Rights Activist and Baptist minister, Alabama State University. Ricky Smiley, comedian, actor, radio personality, Alabama State University. Common, the rapper, writer, actor. Erykah Badu, singer, songwriter, record producer, Grambling University. Wanda Sykes, actress and comedian, Hampton University. Booker T. Washington, educator, founder of Tuskegee University, Hampton University. Chadwick Boseman, actor, Howard University. Sean P. Diddy Combs, rapper, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, executive, Howard University. Kamala Harris, California Senator and current Vice President candidate, Howard University. Samuel L. Jackson, actor and producer, Morehouse. Spike Lee, director, producer, screenwriter, also from Morehouse. Paolo Quinn, NBA basketball player, Norfolk State University. Tim Reed, actor and film director, Norfolk State University. Kim Coles, actor, comedian, North Carolina Central. Keyshia Knight-Pulliam, Spelman. Oprah Winfrey, talk show host, television producer, Tennessee State University. Wale, rapper, musician, Virginia State University. Stephen A. Smith, ESPN sports analyst, Winston-Salem State University. And as you've seen in those HBCU that have been highlighted in the presentation tonight, there are some amazing graduates of historically Black colleges and universities. All of this was shown to show you that an HBCU can be your next destination. As you consider colleges, don't forget to consider an HBCU. Now it's time for our discussion with our panelists. I will now turn it over to Ms. Karen Bazemore-Person.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lakita James. Good evening. Thank you all so much for investing your time with us this evening. I will be serving as your moderator. We have an amazing panel on general college and HBCU information where we will be talking about the admissions process, financial aid, the rich HBCU experience, and the college life from the lens of current students and a recent graduate. To give you an idea of what to expect, our format for this evening will kick off with an introduction from the college officials on our panel, and then we will dive into the conversation on college admissions and funding. I will ask questions that draw out general themes and trends and applying to college and financial aid options. We will then move into our discussion with current college students and a recent graduate where the questions asked will help us gain a deeper understanding of what to expect with the academics and extracurricular experiences. The second half of our time will be spent opening the floor to give you an opportunity to ask questions. So if you are thinking or have been thinking about some ways in which parents and students can help yourselves navigate this process, please don't hesitate to ask the questions as you think of them. Just place them in the chat and we will address them during the Q&A session at the end. Before we move into the discussion, I would like to introduce our college officials on the panel. First, we have with us Mr. Bernardo J. Dargan. Mr. Dargan is the outgoing interim associate vice president and dean of students at California State Polytechnic University in Pomona, California, also known as Cal Poly. He is also the founder and principal of B. Dargan Works, LLC, which is his consulting firm. Thank you so much, Mr. Dargan, for joining us. Next, we have Mr. Ricky Hopkins. Mr. Hopkins is the admissions counselor at Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia, home of myself, where I graduated from, my alma mater. So welcome, Mr. Hopkins. Also on the panel, we have Ms. Robin Siddell. Ms. Siddell is currently serving as the Director of Financial Aid at Alabama State University in Montgomery, Alabama. She is originally from Arkansas and has worked over 10 years in financial aid. Ms. Siddell began her career as a college work-study student in the financial aid office at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And she had the unique opportunity to work for the financial aid outsourcing company, Financial Aid Services, as a verification specialist. So some experience, rich experience coming from Ms. Siddell. Our final school official on the panel is Mr. Freddie Williams, Jr. Mr. Williams serves as one of 3 interim associate vice presidents for student affairs and enrollment management, and the director of admissions and recruitment at Alabama State University as well. He has spent over 18 years in higher education and returned to Alabama State after overseeing college counseling, placement testing, disability services, student organizations, as well as new student advising and registration at H Council Trenholm State Community College, where he served as second in command of the Student Services Division during his tenure. Mr. Williams is also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and is also a Master Mason and an honorary member of Kappa Kappa Psi Band Fraternity. Thank you all again for agreeing to serve on our panel this evening. Before we jump into the questions, I would like for Mr. Dargan, Mr. Hopkins, and Mr. Williams to take about 3 minutes each sharing some background information about your universities. As you share some background information, please share why students should attend your university and include some things like average class size on the campus, from the largest to the smallest class size, as well as the graduation rate, undergraduate student population, and when students must declare major, and also what sets your school apart from others. So let's start with Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, please share some background information with us this evening.
And if all the panelists could unmute their lines, that would be great.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So at Alabama State, you're not just a number. Spring, fall, or be it summer. You see, to us, you are so much more. So come to our campus. Feel free to explore. You will adore our campus scene because we have so many things. You see, the reason why I brag and boast is because when Alabama State teaches class, the world takes note. That's Alabama State University, and thank you all so much for having us, and we certainly appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit about Alabama State University. Again, my name is Freddie Williams Jr., and I bring you all greetings from the beautiful campus of Alabama State University, located in Montgomery, Alabama. And on behalf of our Board of Trustees, our 15th President, Dr. Quentin T. Ross Jr., and the entire Alabama State University family, I bring you all greetings. I come here today not only as a staff member, but also as a graduate, a 2-time graduate, soon to be 3-time graduate of this prestigious university. I got both a master's and a bachelor's degree here at ASU and currently working on a doctoral degree. I come to you today from a position of love, because when I talk to you about ASU, it's all about love. And I'm telling you that from the experience of a student and an experience as an administrator here. Alabama State was founded in 1867 in a place called Marion, Alabama by 9 free slaves with $500, and I like to say a dream. During that time, the school was known as the Lincoln Normal School. And after one big move to Montgomery and several name changes, we became Alabama State University. Of course, at Alabama State, we have about 60 different programs to choose from accounting to theater arts and everything in between. And we even have a program called Interdisciplinary Studies, where if we don't have your major, we can perhaps build it for you. What it takes to get in Alabama State, right now, we are currently waiving test scores. So for those of you from out of state, which is I would guess and assume there's most of you on this call today, we are waiving our test score requirements for the fall 2021 semester as well as the spring 22 semester. So if you have at least a 2.2 GPA, you can now be admitted under our COVID policy. And if you have a 2.1 to 2.0, you can be admitted into our summer bridge program. And if anybody has questions about that, we can answer that during the question and answer session. In terms of the money, we do have academic scholarships. We start offering partial scholarships at 2.75 and above, and at least an 18 on the ACT, or 940 if you're taking the SAT. Our full ride scholarship, you need at least a 376 and a 26 on the 26 on the ACT and a 1240 on the SAT. We have non-academic scholarships as well. We just started this first semester offering a scholarship to all our out-of-state students who have at least a 2.75 GPA. We don't look at an ACT or test score on this particular scholarship. If you have that 2.75 or better, you will automatically get that scholarship, and that covers your out-of-state fees here at Alabama State University. In addition to that, we have music, dance, ROTC, band, and athletics that also have their own scholarships. So with that in a nutshell, one of the things I like to talk about at Alabama State University, we have about 4,000 students here. So we're not a huge campus. We are small enough to know you, but big enough to grow you. And so we appreciate that, because that gives us an opportunity to have the smaller class sizes that you're looking for. And you asked about that. Typically typically in our general education classes, like English, maths, and all those courses, you typically have a class size of about 18 to 1. That's 18 students per one instructor. As you get into your major, those class sizes tend to get a lot smaller when you get to your specialized areas of study. So with that in mind, I think I've talked a little bit, and we'll give everybody else a chance to talk, and then any questions you have, we'll certainly be around to address those.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Williams. Mr. Hopkins, can you please share some background information for us with Norfolk State University?
Yes, I can. Well, first and foremost, I would like to say, behold
the green and gold.
Yeah, get used to it. My name is Mr. Ricky Hopkins. I'm actually the senior admissions counselor here at Norfolk State University, the home of the Spartans, where we do behold our green and gold. We're actually located in Norfolk, Virginia. We are the largest populated historical Black college in the state of Virginia. We consider ourselves the HBCU for the modern world. We do not believe because we are a historical Black college that we should look historic or vintage. They've actually deemed us one of the most rapidly growing institutions in the country, not just rapidly growing HBCUs. We've gotten a brand new building every year since 2009. We are getting a brand new building, facility, or residential hall every year to the year 2026. So we are rapidly growing, and we are not keeping ourselves in a box. One cool thing about Norfolk State, I always tell students, that we see the future in our students. That means we see things in our students that they do not see in themselves as of yet. All of your goals, all of your drives, all of your ambition, future doctor, future lawyer, future engineer, future social worker, we see all that in you. And one cool thing about Norfolk State is that we are a family here. We are one big Spartan family, and we feel that it takes a village to prepare a professional. So when you get here, it is all hands on deck. Everyone is here is heavily rooted in your success, your learning, and for you to actually grow and evolve here at Norfolk State. Some of our most popular programs here is nursing. We just built a brand new $4.2 million nursing and general education building. We actually produce the most qualified and credentialed nurses on the entire East Coast, as well as the most traveling nurses on the entire East Coast is credentialed as well. We are the only historical Black college and institution left in the country that have all levels of bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs in all areas of psych and mental health professional. If you get your bachelor's and your master's here at Norfolk State, we actually pay for your doctoral program. We also have everything in areas of mass communication, as well as we are home of the #1 theater, performing arts, and drama program out of all historical Black colleges in the country, and also the home of the #1 ranked HBCU Grammy Award-winning marching band, the Spartan Legion Marching Band. I'm going to be on the call. I'm going to make sure I can answer all the questions for you guys. I'm going to wrap it up because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions for me at the end.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hopkins. And Mr. Dargan.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Long Beach, California. I am far away from most of you out west. My goal is to talk a little bit differently about the HBCU experience for me. I went to South Carolina State University, so I am a Bulldog, and I will tell you that it was the best experience that I've had in my entire life, right? And it's the reason why I am where I am now. Of course, I am not a part of an HBCU currently, but I am a part of the HBCU family. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my most recent university in just a moment. But one of the things I wanted to share, the angle I want to talk to you about is I think is critically important if it is your choosing to attend an HBCU. So I will start there. One of the things I want to mention to you all today is to talk a little bit about graduate school and to start thinking about that now, even before you enter as an undergraduate student. So perhaps when we talk about a university like where I am and the size of it, those are things that you can start to consider as well to then and receive the appropriate funding and those type of things. So I am most recently served as the interim associate vice president and dean of students at California State Polytechnic University in Pomona, California. Cal Poly Pomona is one of 2 polytechnic universities in the state of California and is part of a 23 California State University system. The university is designated as a Hispanic serving institution, but it's a very, very diverse institution. The current enrollment for the university is about 28,000 students, which is a pretty large university. And the undergraduate population is about 26,000. So most of the students are undergraduate students. Our faculty to staff ratio is about 25-1. So there's about 25 students to every one faculty member, and 15% of those classes are 20 students or less. So although it is a larger university, the focus is on the smaller class size. One of our focuses is to encourage students and to have what we call a polytechnic experience. And the polytechnic experience is essentially a hands-on learning experience. And so not only do we want our students to come and learn, but we want them to be able to have those hands-on experiences that will then impact the work that they would do in the world. Our 4-year graduation rate is at about 30%. And so that is a pretty high 4-year graduation rate. We have a number of students who have done very well in their careers, and we have had some who actually have left Cal-Poly to go to graduate school at some of the HBCUs, such as Howard, FAMU, so forth and so on. So I'll stop there, and I hope that was helpful to you all, but I do want to encourage everyone on this call to really consider and think about the HBCU of their choice, but to also consider other institutions in addition to HBCUs, as their
I think we may have lost you just a little bit, Mr. Dargan, but I think we got pretty much the gist of, we captured the ending of your what you shared, your overview. I am going to move into Ms. Siddell. If you can just, Ms. Siddell, if you can provide an overview of the financial aid process and what students and parents can do to ensure a smooth process and gain access to more funds for us this evening, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for inviting us tonight. As you mentioned, my name is Robin Siddell. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at Alabama State University. I'm going to give you a little information about how to apply for financial aid. The first thing that you need to do is complete the free application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA. The application can be found at FAFSA.gov, and that's F as in Frank, A as in Apple, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, .gov. By completing this application, this will determine if you're eligible for any free monies, such as the federal Pell Grant or the Supplemental Equal Opportunity Grant, federal work study program, and also federal loans, subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. The application will be available each year beginning on October 1st. The best way to think about it is to determine what tax information is required for our high school seniors. If you are planning on attending college in the fall, like this fall, next fall is fall 2021, the tax information that you will need to use is 2 years later. So you're going to use 2019 federal tax information for your parents if you're considered a dependent student. Once you complete the FAFSA, within 24 hours, you'll receive an email letting you know that your FAFSA application has been processed. The great thing about the FAFSA application that you're also able to list up to 10 schools to receive your FAFSA information. Once your FAFSA has been processed, make sure that you stay in contact with the schools that you listed. Once you make a decision on which school that you plan on attending, stay in contact. Definitely check your emails as much as possible, the email that you used on the FAFSA application. Some schools require for you to look at the email provided through the school. Also, you should, another reason to complete the FAFSA as early as possible, because some funds are limited that we receive from the Department of Education, such as college work study and also the SEOG, the Supplemental Equal Opportunity Grant. And also, if you're interested in applying for scholarships, a lot of scholarships require that FAFSA application. So I definitely encourage you to complete the FAFSA as soon as possible. Some students are selected at random for another process just to review the information that you submitted on the FAFSA has been submitted correctly. Sometimes students, they interchangeably use their parents' tax information as their own on the FAFSA, which can definitely negatively impact what they're eligible for. So just take your time completing the FAFSA. If you have any questions, please reach out to a college, or you can also contact the Department of Education as well. They're able to answer your questions. And that's just a brief overview of the financial aid process and what you could be eligible for by completing the FAFSA.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Adele. We are now going to jump deep into those questions that everyone wants to know about the schools. I'm going to start with Mr. Hopkins. If you can just share with us, how has COVID affected the college admissions process? Pretty much, what assurances can students have that they will receive an adequate education while they're on campus during this pandemic?
That's a very good question. I'm going to be honest, and I'm pretty sure going to speak for everyone that works in higher education on this call. The pandemic has affected everything. Like, it has thrown a curveball on this level that no one has ever seen coming. And a lot of the, things as it was coming was so fluid that it was changing daily, by the hour, by the minute at times. Especially us being a state institution, public, a lot of the, governing and instructions that we were getting was coming directly from our governor. So we, a lot of things and accommodations that we had to actually put forth was things that we actually had to do on the fly. But one thing I would say, I'm proud of my institution. We have actually done things that I wish other schools actually took out of our playbook. So I'm about to gloat a little bit. We actually created a COVID-19 task force, which was actually created for different individuals, administration of the institution, as well as the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health as well. And what we did is we actually set up a task force that we made it mandatory that all students on campus, off campus, commuter students, graduate students, doctoral students, as well as faculty and staff, everyone was tested. So we actually have 100% of everyone on campus that has been tested, as well as all of our students that live on campus had to be tested before they actually moved into the residential hall. So that was very big. We even have residential halls that we've actually set up on campus as well to be able to actually handle if students actually tested positive and had to quarantine. Knock on wood, fortunately, we actually haven't had any cases on campus at this time, and the 4 cases that we did have were all self-reported prior to the students getting here. So that's actually good. We haven't had any incidents on campus. So like I said, it is a blessing. We actually have made proper accommodations in the classroom as well, because our student to teacher ratio in the classroom is already 18-1. So on the lower scale, our average class size is about 35 to 45 students, but we actually made adjustments to that as well. So our average class size right now is 20, but for them classes, we actually did hybrid courses. So we have 3 different ways of educating our students at this point. We have in class, we have completely online, and we have hybrid. And for our in-class classes, we actually made them smaller to more of a hybrid session. So what we did is, say if you have 20 individuals in the class and there's a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday course, on Monday, 10 students will report. The other 10 will actually be watching virtually. On Wednesday, the 10 that was watching virtually, they will report on Wednesday, and then the other 10 will actually watch virtually on Wednesday. That was actually in class. And then on Friday, no one will report. Everyone is virtually. So, we've done everything that we can possibly do on that scale as far as accommodations in the classroom. As well as we made it mandatory inside of all of our buildings, residential halls, that mask is mandatory, as well as it actually is a rule by the state that masks are mandatory in all outings, as well as inside of buildings as well. So, COVID has kind of thrown a curveball and, kind of set us back a little bit. But as far as the institution, it hasn't really derailed us much at all.
Can I add to that as well?
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Sounds like you have put quite a few things in place. Yes, please go ahead and share your answer as well with us.
All right, and I appreciate that question, because it certainly is a good question. One of the things too, I'm currently working on my dissertation, and that's the exact title: COVID Curve in Leadership During the Pandemic. And so we're really going to be looking at those things that happened during leadership during this crisis. But one of the things that we did here at ASU, of course, we waived the test score requirements because, as you know, because of COVID, all the national tests were pretty much canceled. And so for those, and a lot of students hadn't had the opportunity to take the either test, ACT or SAT. So one of the things we did to help is we actually waived our test score requirements for admissions, and we're continuing that, as I said earlier, into our fall 2021 and spring 2022 semesters. Additionally, one of the things we did was created the scholarship that I addressed during the opening to help our students during this time of crisis. And currently right now, we're giving our laptops to our students. All our new students freshmen have getting laptops to help in case we have to go back home. What we found when they had to go home hurriedly, a lot of them did not have access to technology, or they may have had a laptop, but they didn't have Wi-Fi when they got home. So we saw a lot of need. And so some of the things that we did was making sure that this time, if it ever happened again, that our students are going to be prepared as they transition into the total online learning. So he's right, everything has changed. A lot of these students, we feel like they've been robbed of their freshman year. But one of the things I like to tell them right now, just keep the mask on. This is going to be over soon, and we can have the biggest party ever once this is all done.
Yeah. Yeah, and to piggyback on what he said, he's actually, he's correct. The biggest piece to this whole pandemic thing is actually the students. Even when you guys get on campus, us as institutions, we can do everything that we can. Just like he said, we giving our students laptops, we've given our students MiFi, we've done all that. But the biggest piece to this whole curve is the student. We understand you guys are coming to campuses, you want to get away from home, but you have to kind of do your part as well, even when you're on campus, to make sure that we can get these numbers down so we can get back to normal as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you all for that. Mr. Darden, did you want to weigh in as well?
Yeah, I'm coming from a slightly different perspective because we know California is very different. So it's hard to compare because a third of the U.S. population live in the state of California. We have 40 million people live in the state of California. And even when I look at even the county of Los Angeles County, there's more people that live just in Los Angeles County than the whole state of South Carolina, as an example, right? And so the numbers have been very restrictive, and California State University is the first system in the country to announce that we're going virtual all the way through the end of the academic year, right? And so it's a little bit more restrictive here in terms of how people are connecting and navigating. There are some private institutions in California who are still in session, but for the most part in higher ed in general, everything is virtual and online. One of the biggest challenges that we have right now is for students who have to have labs, right, for chemistry and biology and all of those lab courses that requires some sort of level of contact, right, to do experiments and those types of things. And so we're working through those. And so there are a few students on some campuses, but again, they're rotating in, rotating out. So each campus can't have more than 200 students on campus at one time using all social distance methods. But also the challenge with that is, as I think the gentleman from Norfolk State was saying, that it really depends on the students and how they really handle these things because it's critically important. So yeah, we're doing the same thing, but we're virtual through the rest of the academic year, and that has already been determined for us.
Awesome. Sounds like everyone from the West Coast to Deep South or over here in the East Coast, everyone has a pretty tight plan in place. The big key is our students and kind of following through with some of the practices that have been put in place so that we can gain some success and hopefully get back to what we deemed normal before the pandemic. So kudos to all of the universities that are out there taking on that challenge and doing a great job. Sounds like y'all have some true specialists and from the CDC teams, as folks from the CDC departments, as well as using your faculty as well. I want to move this next question on to Ms. Siddell. What options are out there for students who have been awarded loans, grants, and scholarships, but they still do not have enough money to cover their tuition and fees? Are they able to get additional funding as they start the calendar year as well once classes start?
Well, it depends on the school and if there's additional funds available. Typically, all the scholarship deadlines, the early deadlines are the fall before the next academic year or early spring. If their employer or their parents' employer, there are also scholarship opportunities there as well. There are a few scholarship websites that students are able to go to and get additional assistance. Again, typically the applications come out in early spring for the next academic year. And I would like to share a few of those websites. Scholarships.com and also fastweb.com. Those are scholarship databases that students are able to register for, and then they'll be able to receive electronically information about scholarships that fit their interests. For example, if they're interested in biology, when they fill out their profile, they'll get scholarship opportunities regarding biology. So it's a really great way for students to be able to narrow down scholarships that may suit their interests. As I mentioned, fastweb.com, the National Merit Scholarship. Students have to take the preliminary SAT test, which is typically given to juniors and sophomores, high school sophomores and juniors. And that test is given every October. So if you haven't had a chance to register for that test, please follow up with your high school counselor so you can get registered for that exam. The great thing about if you are selected as a semifinalist or a finalist for the National Merit Scholarship, that scholarship can be used at any school in the country. So if you do decide to go out of state, that scholarship can follow you as well. Also check with each state has their own Department of Higher Ed department. Check with your local, if you plan to stay in state and go to school, be sure to also register on their website and complete their application. And typically most state agencies, you're required to complete the FAFSA, which is another reason you need to complete the FAFSA as soon as possible. Another umbrella, a large organization for students, a lot of students may not be aware of, is scholarshipamerica.org. It is a huge umbrella of various scholarships. And I know with that particular organization, a lot of scholarships funds are left because students haven't applied for them.
Those are some great resources. Thank you so much for sharing them. What about how do students go about finding out about funding that's available at the colleges and universities that's not publicized?
Well, they should follow up with the schools that they're interested in and let them know they are needing some additional assistance. And, just like each school across the country right now, our budgets are getting tighter due to what's going on. But let someone know at your school that you're really interested and you just need a little more help, and they may be able to find some additional financial assistance for you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So it sounds like we have some great resources, and once you get to school and you find out, or once you receive your financial aid award packet and you find out you just don't have enough money, still reach out to the school students and parents and see what else they have that might be available to you. But definitely check out those 3 resources that Ms. Siddell has provided. Mr. Darden, turning this question over to you to start out. What kind of summer programs are available for incoming freshmen who want to get acclimated to the campus before the big fall rush of all students coming on campus?
Yeah, so I typically encourage, well, there's a couple and a few that most campuses will have around the country. There are a number of bridge programs. I think Mr. Freddie might have mentioned that earlier, summer bridge programs in which, students if there are students who had some academic challenges coming in to the university. They may be required to go through a summer bridge program in order to facilitate, just some higher grades and some additional support to prepare them, to come straight into the college experience. However, there are a number of programs that my university offers, but I know that others offer around the country that will assist students in specific areas, especially if they're interested in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, or math. That there are some summer pre-college programs that students can apply for and enroll in as well. If you are not part of one of those summer programs, what I oftentimes recommend this is that you do find someone either at the college or university level that can sponsor or support you and give you really good information in terms of preparing you. Because one of the things I find oftentimes that, at least for me and other professionals on this call, may have some things to add here, is that students oftentimes will come visit a college campus and they're walking around and they're seeing things, but they really don't understand how their experience is integrated into the actual college environment, right? And so it takes a little while sometimes for them to get acclimated and get attuned to it. And so I always encourage that, students really take advantage of that opportunity if you don't have the opportunity to, to get into one of the summer programs. And some of the summer programs are, most are free, but there are some that may have a small associated cost with it. And anytime you can stay overnight, have an experience to stay overnight on a college campus prior to coming to college, I think that's one of the greatest experience students can have, prior to coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Darden. I'm going to follow up that same question with Mr. Hopkins. Are there any summer opportunities for incoming freshmen?
Yes, we currently have one program called Spark, which is actually our summer bridge program. It actually caters to students that are incoming freshmen that need that extra love and extra push. They may have different challenges in high school, so we want to make sure that we can properly transition and develop them to get prepared for the academic rigor that's coming along for the fall semester. That program is free. It is 4 weeks long, and the cool thing about it is you'll actually take 2 classes over the summer, and you will get the grade and you will get the credit for them 2 classes that you will take over the summer. So you will actually be starting the fall with the GPA as well as credits or courses that you would normally have to take on a prerequisite early lower level anyway here at the institution. We have another program called STARS, which is another summer program that is geared just towards our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students. That program is free as well. And then we have a cybersecurity camp as well. We are the first institution to have a program in cybersecurity and cyber psychology here at the institution. So cybersecurity is a very big thing in our area. So we actually have a cybersecurity camp as well, and that program is free also.
Great. Sounds like we have some really good summer programs out there for our incoming freshmen. I don't want to leave without asking Mr. Williams over at Alabama State what programs you all have to offer during the summer as well.
Right, and I'm glad, thank you for that, but not to belong the point, but all the things that they basically talked about, the summer enrichment program, and this is one thing too that I would definitely want to say. Sometimes you don't meet the actual requirements for some of the universities, but one of the things that HBCUs exist for is for giving students an opportunity where they otherwise would not have one. And so if you're selected for one of those programs, take that opportunity. And what I can tell you about our summer bridge program is when you look at our retention rate of any other college in the university, our bridge program has one of the highest retention rates of any of those entities. So one of the things that they do is they do prepare you. The enrichment, the hands-on, the very specialized focused training is a good thing for all students. And let me also add another thing you talked about when they get on campus to check on scholarships. That process really need to start before they walk or step foot on those campuses, because by the time they get there, most of the money's gone in terms of the scholarships at institutional. outside of the ones that even Ms. Robin told you about the scholarships that they have in terms of, well, not scholarship, financial aid, the SEOG and the work study program. Each institution only get a small pot of that, so it's good to be at the very top. And so if you can do that in the very beginning, do your FAFSA, call the schools directly, inquire about the scholarship program. Those are some things that will help get you prepared so that if there's any money on the table, you'll be on the radar a lot earlier.
Awesome, thank you for that. I definitely want to have us move on into our student panel, but before I transition over to the students, one last question for each of you. If you could just tell me in one sentence or two, what's the most common mistake students make when applying to college? And I want to go ahead and start with Ms. Siddell.
Well, as far as from a financial aid standpoint, is that sometimes they're confused about the questions on the FAFSA, or may not know who should be considered as the parent. I know sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes our students, they may be living with a relative or a family friend or what have you, and because they have lived with that person for so long, they consider that person their guardian. But for federal aid purposes, unless that person has legally adopted them or obtained legal guardianship, they can't use them on the FAFSA as their parent. I do show a lot of students sometimes fall into that category, and then we have to review their application and discuss their particular situation and see what we can do to assist them. But I do see that as one of the major mistakes that occur on the FAFSA. And also another one, sometimes students, they don't enter their social security number correctly on the FAFSA. When students complete the FAFSA, that application is checked against 8 different agencies with the Department of Education, Homeland Security, Social Security Office, and if they indicate that they're not a citizen, or if their social security number is wrong, that is going to cause a delay in their financial aid application being processed. I just encourage people to complete the application as early as possible after October 1st, but make sure that you understand the questions. And if you don't understand them, reach out to your high school counselor or even a college. That it doesn't have to be a college you're interested in, but you can call any financial aid office and they'll be able to answer your questions as well.
Awesome. Those are some really critical pieces of information that can, make a huge, take their whole application off track, especially when funding is concerned. So thank you for that. I want to follow with that same question, Mr. Hopkins.
I'm sorry, talking to one of my students. Can you repeat the question for me?
Most common mistakes students make when applying to college in 1 to 2 sentences.
Oh man, I can't really necessarily, this is a mistake, but I need students just to have some kind of plan of what they want to do. I feel that piss poor planning promotes piss poor performance. Piss poor performance promotes pain. Like, you have to have a plan. You have to have some kind of derivative of what you even want to go to in order to accomplish your goals. Sometimes students going in blind with not having any kind of clear vision of what they want to do. Sometimes it's just on the road to disaster. So make sure you have some kind of plan. Make sure you're talking to someone. Make sure you're actually reaching out to advisors and people that's been there before you, just so you can get a better understanding of what you're about to try to accomplish.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Dargan.
Yes, I totally agree with what Mr. Hopkins is saying. However, what I would add as well is that one of the things that I've noticed over the years, oftentimes students make the mistake of, in not only the application process, but once they get to the university, is they apply the high school methods and mentality to their college experience, right? And it's 2 very different experiences. I would say that, we have people that are going to support students, that are going to help students with the transition, but it's really important to truly try their best to focus and put the high school experience in one place and really lean into the college experience. Because what happens is sometimes I say it's a little trickery, right? The first semester, some of these intro classes, it seems like, oh yeah, I got this, I did this in high school. And then second semester, they're scrambling like, oh my goodness, what happened? I'm failing all these classes, or I'm not, I'm not up to par on all of this. And it's it's the fire hose mentality. So, and then the last thing I say to students is that you have to also psychologically prepare yourself to know that you're not gonna, you can't get through college alone. You got to ask for help. You got to be able to seek the support that you need. It's not one of these things like high school that somebody's reminding you to do this, reminding you to do that, reminding you to go to class. You really got to stay on top of this stuff yourself, but you also got to have the wherewithal to ask for the help and the support when you feel yourself drowning. And so that's what I would offer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And last but not least, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. One of the things I think that the mistakes that the students make, they don't follow up and they don't follow through until the last minute. And I say that because we get cussed out more times than not, because by parents, no less, because they thought little Johnny sent in his verification form, or he thought that he sent in his final transcript or his test scores. Little Johnny don't told it he's admitted. Nobody followed up. They arrive at the school and it's a zoo. So one of the things we certainly want to encourage everybody to do is to follow up. Don't assume. If you sent something in and you hadn't heard anything from the college, typically we want you. So if you hadn't heard anything from us, it probably means that we hadn't gotten it. And sometimes that's included applications. So follow up, follow through, and don't assume. That's the mistakes I see most students make. And that's through the whole process from admissions to the financial aid process.
If I can add this, and thank you so much for saying that, because this is really would take 1 second. So when I just counseled a student here in California last night, she wants to go to Howard in the fall. And I told her, I said, listen, you have to trust but verify, right? Because nobody is going to do this for you. So it doesn't mean that stuff is not happening, but you have to really verify, because it's your responsibility to be able to do that. Trust but verify. So I think keep that in your head, because that's critically important to think about in the application process and once you get to college as well. Thank you for that little extra bit.
Those are great.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
If I can add to that, this is very big for students. Like, this is just me, like my uncle mode, big brother mode to all of my students. You should not be the same person going in and be that same person going out in 4 years. Like, you really cannot be afraid to grow and evolve in this setting. And you have to leave pride and ego at the door. See, one thing about young people today, I always tell them is that you in certain areas, you do suck. I'm just being honest. And you have to change your mindset of the way you do things. You guys don't have any interpersonal skills, because everything y'all have is social media. You guys don't take any onus of anything. You guys have a sense of entitlement that is unreal. You guys are lazy in certain areas. You got to leave all that at the door, because keep in mind, on this level, you're actually financially investing in your education. If you're not financially investing in your education, you're doing it with your time and your energy and your effort. You have to leave pride and ego at the door. Make sure you are using all resources and services on these campuses to make sure that you are successful. And one thing about HBCUs, we are like a village, so we go that extra mile for a lot of our students. So you have to make sure you are using all resources and services at your exposure at all times, because they are there to make sure that you're successful.
I appreciate that, and I will have to say, having been a product of an HBCU, it is a true mentorship that takes place. You're going to get, they're going to give it to you real and raw, and it has to happen that way so that you can grow and you can learn from it and you can move on past and be successful. And so it's definitely truly a great experience, and I truly enjoy my NSU family and still do. So thanks, that was a wealth of information. I hope you all were able to take some good notes. Before we move into the student panel, please remember to place your questions in the chat. I do want to move on and introduce our lively group of current college students and recent graduates. First, we have on our panel Mr. Ronald L. Chambliss, II. Ronald is a junior at Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia, where he majors in business and with a minor in human resource management. Next, we have Mr. Dantes Van. Dantes is a junior at Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia, where he majors in electrical engineering. Also on our panel is Ms. Jada Pender. Jada is a sophomore at Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, where she majors in political science. And last but not least, we have Ms. Deanna Blunt. Deanna graduated from North Carolina Central University in 2019. She received a Bachelor's of Science in Kinesiology. She is currently employed as a financial services representative with the State Employees Credit Union and plans to obtain an accelerated Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from Winston-Salem State University in the near future. Thank you all for agreeing to join and serve on our panel this evening. Before we get started, please share with us how you decided on the college you chose. I'm going to pose that question to Ms. Deanna first.
Good evening. I went to the illustrious North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina, where Eagle Pride is amplified, no matter the time or the place. The way that I chose my HBCU is my grandmother actually went to Shaw University in Raleigh at a time where that was their only option. So when I began to search for, my higher education, my next step, I wanted somewhere that, closely aligned to what I was trying to do in life as far as even outside of my classwork. So I chose North Carolina Central. Their motto is in truth and service. In any and every situation, for graduation, you need community service hours. For my major, you had to have an internship that was unpaid, that I was given time, classwork, any and everything for countless amounts of hours, and I was not getting paid. So I needed somewhere that I felt that I could grow, that I felt that was going to help grow me, because I didn't know everything, even though I wanted to think that I did. So that is how I ended up at North Carolina Central University.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Deanna. Mr. Ronald, can you please share how you selected your college?
Well, I'd like to first start by saying hello, everyone. I chose my illustrious HBCU, the Virginia State University. Around my junior year of high school, I had older cousins and whatnot, older family members that have been to Virginia State. And I had got the chance to go on a little weekend tour there, tour the campus, saw how beautiful it was. I kind of got a feel for, like everybody was saying earlier on the call, HBCUs are a family-oriented place, and I kind of just figured that it was for me. Ended up getting accepted to Virginia State University, and I knew that it was for me, especially the night our tip session, the children introductory program. That's like we get to come like a week before we actually go on campus, just spend the night and kind of just get a little taste of college life. But just getting a little taste of college life on Virginia State's campus, and yeah, I got accepted, and the rest was history. I love my HBCU, and I'm glad that I chose that HBCU, and I will make that choice time and time again. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Ronald. Ms. Jada.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I attend Hampton University, and the reason why I chose this campus is because it felt like home. When I stepped on the campus for, I believe it was Student Admit Day, everyone was so welcoming. It felt like a small family, like everyone is saying with HBCUs. And personally, I wanted to stay close to home. And Norfolk State, I love that school, but it was a little too close for me. So I wanted to travel a little bit and go to Hampton. And yeah, I like it very much. And I advise anyone to, go to Hampton because you'll love it. So yeah.
I'm sure your fellow Hamptonians up here on this line are feeling the same way. Dantes, if you can share with us, Mr. Dantes, why you selected NSU.
Good evening, everyone. I chose NSU. My mother went there. She got her bachelor's and her master's from there. Also, my aunt, Lakita James, she went there as well, got her master's and her bachelor's from there. So it was pretty much a no-brainer for me to go to that school. It was close to home. felt like it was more affordable for me for my preference for schools. So it was a good school. I visited campus a couple of times. Loved everything about it. It's just a good school, good teachers, good. I love the advisors. The advisors are very good there. They're probably the best I ever been around ever. And the facilities there and everything at the school are really good.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. And so I'm sure many of our students want to really know some of the ins and outs of things. First, what the living situation is like while you're on campus. And if you're not on campus, just tell us what it's like as a commuter student as well. We'll go ahead and start with Ms. J.
Did you say me? It cut out. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry, it cut out. The living situation, freshman year on campus, I stayed in VC Suites, which used to not be there. It's beside VC Hall. And it used to be a cafeteria, but since they renovated, I believe in 2016, it was known to be this prestigious, nicest dorm on the campus for women. And I liked it. It felt like a really big family, like I said before. My dorm directors, they also didn't just let us stay in the dorm, they created a connection with us. And if you make like friendships with your RAs and whatnot, they seem like older sisters to you. So it was good to be away from home, but also have somebody I can go to and talk to whenever I feel like it. And we had different programs in the dorms, different it was like different events that were more like informational so people can know like what's going on at campus. And overall, the living situation was very nice. I had my own bathroom, but the other dorms on campus, they didn't have their own bathrooms for some reason. I don't know why, but I guess they said that we were the special kind of students and whatnot. But yeah, I would say I like living on Hampton's campus and whatnot. But now, since I'm a sophomore and because of COVID and whatnot, I chose to live off campus this semester, but I still live in Hampton, so I can still commute. But other than that, it was very nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Ronald, give us the gentleman's side of how is describe the living situation for the guys on campus.
All right, so I was a freshman at VSU in fall 2018. When I got there was 5 freshman dorms on campus. I stayed in quad 1. Quad 1 in so there's quad 1 and quad 2. Quad 2 mostly like sophomores and some juniors staying there, but overflow freshmen go to quad 2. There is Bird and Branch Hall, those are the girl dorms, and Williams and Langston Hall, the boys dorms. Honestly, I feel as though people who stayed in quad 2, let's just say that you had your own bathrooms in there. And Bird and Branch and Williams and Langston, there was community restrooms. Rooms were a little bit smaller. I know for me, I lucked up and ended up getting a special needs room. So our bathroom was like one of the biggest ones on the hall. Was saying that my roommate, me and him, we were pretty cool. We were from the same area, the DMV. So we knew a lot of the same people. Needless to say, our room was kind of like the hangout room. But no, that definitely didn't stop us from getting our work done. Both me and my roommate that year we graduated. I mean, we moved on to the next year with I think 3.2 GPAs. So definitely, you know what I'm saying, getting our work done and all that. But honestly, what I'll say, the little piece that I'll add in there is freshman year is what you make it. And a lot of times there's a lot of people that no matter what your dorm situation, they stay in their dorm because they're shy. But I would just say as a freshman, you're there to learn and grow. So don't just stay in your room. Even if you have a nice room, even if you'd rather stay more secluded and whatnot, just go out and experience stuff because you never really get to relive your freshman year. I wish I could relive it now. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. Ronald. Mr. Dantes, can I just have you share with us what kind of campus resources or services are available and how do students go about learning about these resources?
So the campus at Norfolk State has a lot of resources as far as tutoring. They have counselors. I think the tutoring center is called the STARS Center. So they send a lot of emails you get from your advisors, constant emails about seeing your getting a tutor for all your classes and everything, making sure you're on top of your work. So pretty much
That's one of the reasons I know of. Also, they have other things like you see hours for your teachers. You get to go to your talk to your teachers about work and everything. It's good to talk to your teachers face to face because when they know your name and they speak to you when you're not in class and everything, it means a lot because it means they actually know that you're trying to put in the work and learn more, and you're actually appreciating the items you're learning in their class and everything. And I take advantage of that when I was on campus. So that's pretty much what I know of right now.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Dantes. I'm going to move on because I want to make sure we get a couple of these questions answered from the students. So, Ms. Deanna, can you share what the social experience is like on campus and how students go about making friends and balancing that coursework and campus life?
So I will say the social aspect is definitely a big part, but managing it with your schoolwork is it's a struggle when you first get there. But if you connect with the tutoring center, you can sign up for a time. When you leave tutoring, if you walk out the door at North Carolina Central, you go right into the Greek Bowl, you go into the quad, you go into the cafeteria. There are a couple exits. So you can still get your work done, still have a social life, join clubs, join if you so choose to join Divine Nine, or even if you want to join the choir or a physical education association or an association through your major. Join those associations because you get those connections socially, but you're also still getting your work done. Still, making those good connections that are gonna follow you throughout your, collegiate time. So I will say my freshman year, I did have a little bit of a problem maintaining my social and my academic. Not gonna lie, I had a problem, but I learned very quickly when my advisor called me to her office from her personal cell phone and told me to come to her. I knew there was a problem, so I went. I just needed a little fine tuning, and we got there. So those connections will come, but you don't want it to come when your advisor calls you. So, if you can learn it now, it's a great thing to know. Great thing.
That's that mentorship that I'm talking about. Thank you so much for that, Deanna. I do want to just end with, before we move into the Q&A session, if each of you can just offer, what advice, in one sentence, what advice would you give a first-time college student that you wish someone had told you? And let's go ahead and start with Ms. Deanna, since you were there.
In one sentence, advice that I would give incoming freshmen, current students, again, along with a lot of what everybody else is saying, follow up and use your resources. I was one that I thought you got it, and if you got it, cool. But I started putting, please, show a receipt. Please respond to my email. Please let me know that you received this. So that then there was a kind of, I'm checking to make sure I sent it, but you're also responding to, make sure that you got it. So definitely follow up. Even if you think you're getting on their nerves, follow up. It will pay off in the long run.
Awesome. Mr. Ronald, one sentence. Something you wish someone told you.
One sentence. That's a lot. I would just say, don't let people make up what college needs to be for you. And I know I'm sorry, I can't keep it to one sentence. I'm just passionate about it. Long story short, I came to VSU with a sense of I want to do something with my life, and I'm here for a reason, so it's time to get it. And as a freshman, a lot of times, like, you're just scared about making the wrong decision. You don't want to spend too much time in the wrong major or whatnot. Make the choices that you make. Don't be afraid to make those choices, though, because this is what's going to grow you. And just get involved like everybody else said. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Spring 20 Initiate, and I'm also a member of the True Foundation Incorporated, which is a mentoring organization on our campus. Stuff like that, like, go out and around homecoming, especially at HBCUs, do what you do. Like, go out, have fun, get acclimated with everybody, build those bonds, because those bonds that you build in college are going to be bonds that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Dantes.
Some advice I would give was come into college with a clear mind, and pretty much just come, your study habits from high school and the transition to college are really different. And I feel like that was my big issue, because studying in high school, you can do a little here and there studying and then you be done with it. But with college, you really have to study. You got to sacrifice some times. Sometimes you can't go to that party everyone going to that weekend. Sometimes you can't hang out with friends. Sometimes you got to just grit it out and just, study, read the books that the teachers ask you to read. Yeah, pretty much all I can say.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Great, great, great suggestions. Great advice. And Miss Jada.
One of the advice I would give is to hold yourself to the highest standard, because a lot of times in college you don't know who everyone is. So if you hold yourself to the highest standard and put yourself in a good light, and like they said, reach out to people, a lot of the times that you're going to put yourself in good energy and surround yourself with good people that can uplift you and get you through your college experience. So that's one thing that I would say, and that helped me throughout college. Well, from college where I am now. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. I want to turn it over to Miss Cassandra Chambliss and Dr. Sandra Jordan. Do we have questions out there? Any questions out there, Miss Cassandra Chambliss?
Yes. This is to the panelists and to both the college panelists and the official panelists, and to the students. Can you just give us some input on what you think the best upsides are to attending an HBCU?
I'll answer one of those. I'll answer first. Honestly, I think the atmosphere of VSU before coronavirus, of course, but I'm gonna just tell you guys, I've never experienced a homecoming until I went to the 2018 homecoming for Virginia State University. This is about the semester right before I went online. I just got to see like so much. You will never really understand it until you're there. And even if you don't just go to like specifically Virginia State, just a HBCU gathering, spring fling, or homecoming, it's nothing like it. It's the time of your life, and I promise you, you need to experience it before you can.
For me, I would say it's just a sense of family. Like, we throw that word around a lot, but in the HBCU world, that really means something. Like, so for me, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. I grew up like 4 blocks down from the school, so I've seen NSU all my life. And growing up, my favorite show was A Different World. So all I wanted was that HBCU experience. And I took pride in waking up in the morning and seeing, the future doctor, future lawyer, future engineer, future social worker, even the future educators, and the majority of them students look like me. I took pride in that, and it really pushed me and really wanted me to elevate myself to really, become the best version of myself.
And I like to add to that. I'll say the culture. Even though we're HBCUs, one of the things you'll find when you get into these, when they say university, it's a university because you have people from all over. And I remember as an undergrad here, I'd actually moved from Detroit to Alabama, and so that was a little different for me. But when I got here, and then when Alabama State came, and then you got the folks from Chicago, you got people from New York and in California and all over, and so you get a little taste of culture, because even though we're historically Black, we're not all the same. And that's the mistake I think people assume, is that we all had the same experience. And really, that's when you realize that we don't. And so that was an opportunity really to just kind of absorb cultures from all over the country from an African American experience. And I really enjoyed that piece of my Alabama State experience.
Yeah, and if I may quickly add, my experience was like none other. I am so glad I chose South Carolina State over another PWI in the state of South Carolina, because I just know what I know now, I would not have survived, right? But just the nourishment, the preparation I had, I went to my graduate program. I went to the top program for my program in the country, right? And could definitely see I was only African-American male student in the program, but definitely saw that I was more prepared than some of my other counterparts. Especially when the tough got going, people will lose papers and documents all the time. And I know this may sound old, but typewriters were just going away. But I'm like, listen, you lose your paper, get a typewriter, get it done, right? Because that's what I grew into with my experience in South Carolina State. It was a get it done attitude and no excuses, right? And so you do it by any means necessary. And the last thing I said, I had an international experience. I went to Ghana in West Africa, which really opened up a lot of opportunities for me even today. And it's one of the reasons why I've been able to move very quickly through my career. And lastly, this is a misconceived notion, but especially working primarily in PWIs my entire career, is that HBCUs have the most diverse faculty. I had Black faculty, white faculty, Latino faculty, Native American faculty, right? Who has Native American faculty? And from all over the world, China, Sri Lanka, I mean, everywhere, right? And so it created, when I look back at the experiences in working in PWIs and how students oftentimes complain about, well, we have these predominantly white faculty, I'm like, I don't know, I had a very diverse experience at South Carolina State, and I have not worked at any predominantly white institution that had as diverse faculty as my experience was at South Carolina State, which I think enhanced and increased my learning.
I add one other thing too as well, and this is just kind of a cautionary tale to the students. If you listen to everybody who has spoken about their HBCU, there is passion, there is pride that we all exhibit when it comes to the place that we spent 4 years and 5 years, sometimes in some cases, getting a bachelor's degree. I mean, there's some love there. And so one of the things I certainly want to caution you all, that never walk on somebody's campus, especially a campus that you attend, wearing somebody else's shirt. That, I don't care how big the school is, I don't care how bad it is in football. I mean, you have to have pride in your own, because 9 out of 10 times, if you could go there, you would have been there. And so you embrace the school that embraced you, and have pride in what embraces you, and not be, I like to tell people, it's just like your mama coming home with a shirt of somebody else, a kid on hers, and rooting for them because they got straight A's and you didn't. I mean, that these are things you got to really keep in mind. Respect your HBCU.
That's awesome, awesome. Ms. Cassandra Chambers, I know we need to move on to Dr. Jordan and have her close up just a little bit, and then we can get right back to some questions, but we do need to take care of a couple housekeeping things. So I'm going to turn over to Dr. Jordan, and then we'll come back for some questions with Ms. Chambers.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Person. And thank you again to all of our panelists for this very insightful and robust discussion. Our college officials were able to provide valuable information regarding the college admission process from the perspective as an administrator, and our students gave us a glimpse into what college life is like on an HBCU campus. Our HBCUs are valuable and treasured institutions that we must continue to uphold and support. They were created to provide an opportunity for higher education for African Americans when one was not available. So let us be vigilant in keeping these institutions viable. If you are not already aware, we have been conducting a series of webinars this summer on the college admissions process, which is the signature program for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for the 2018 through 2022 administration. We have presented a total of 6 sessions, including tonight's webinar. All webinars have been recorded and can be found on the Invest in Others LLC YouTube channel. You may also find the links to the recorded webinars on this slide. We encourage you to view the recorded webinars, as they will serve as valuable resources of information for the college admissions process. We also invite you to follow Invest in Others LLC on their various social media platforms. to find additional resources that will help you to navigate the college admissions process. Various useful links to resources that were presented in the previous webinars are listed on this slide. The links to the resources can be found at the Invest in Others website. Scholars and parents, we encourage you to bookmark these links as they will greatly assist you in the college application process. We would like to hear feedback from you regarding tonight's webinar. So we ask that you kindly take a few minutes to complete the brief survey this evening. The link to the survey is being placed in the chat box at this moment, and all registered attendees will also receive an email with the link. So please help us plan for future programming by completing the survey. On behalf of the 5 collaborating chapters of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we would like to thank you for attending tonight's webinar and for supporting the summer webinar series. I will now turn over the final portion of tonight's session to Ms. Person for closing remarks and wrap up.
And I'm actually going to give it back to Ms. Cassandra Chambliss, just in case we have a few questions out there as well. I think I did see one where Jada Holloway asked for Ronald, was it hard to juggle fraternity and foundation work, basically work in school?
I will say that it was a adjustment. It was an adjustment. But like they say, nothing worth having doesn't come without. So I would say that it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Was it hard? Yes, but and life is hard and it's going to continue to be hard. You got to find ways to get around your struggles. And I would say that even like the True Foundation Incorporated, like some of the people, like I said, it's bonds. Like, some of the people that I met there, I know that I'm going to call them friends and family for the rest of my life. And especially my frat brothers and stuff like that. Like, just it's something that a choice that I will make time and time again. And yes, it was hard, but you get through it and you find ways to just get the job done at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Ronald. I guess I leave with the final question of any of our college officials, what advice or would you give our parents on how to stay connected with their scholars' academics and activities while they're away? Because they do lose a lot of rights. So what would you advise parents really quickly before we wrap up and leave this evening?
FERPA. Because you can't get any information on now student. I said now. I know you pay the bills. We know there's 18, but you have to have that release on file before we can give you any information, and that's real because that's a federal requirement. And so one of the things we certainly want to, because we see sometimes they'll drop parents off, say, here, y'all have them, and you don't get the pertinent information you need because you didn't sign those forms. And so making sure that you stay in touch with the school officials and get that FERPA form signed from day one, so that gives you permission to get any information you need on that student. Without that form,
so FERPA or nothing.
Okay. Anybody else? One other thing, we in our university, we have started a parent portal. But again, even in the parent portal, you have to have the permission for the student, so that way you can get all the information. The emails they don't tell you about, the parents actually get those same emails, so they'll be in line when they got to move out the dorm and all those things that they didn't know that the student didn't share with them. We also have a portal that gets that information out as well, and I think a lot of schools may offer something very similar.
Yeah, I would just add that, simply for me, you have to let your student grow and develop on their own. Sometimes they're going to fall, let them fall. But be able to also ask the right questions of them, right? Because that is critically important, that you allow them to have this experience on their own without overshadowing their experience. And I know that is very difficult. to do, but I guarantee it will make them better in the end, because one of the things that I'm seeing is that we have so many students now who are so dependent on parents. And I'm like, you're in year 4 and year 5 and you're about to graduate, and I'm trying to figure out why in the hell you calling your mom. Because your mama won't be able to rescue you when you're out here on your own trying to make the salary, and you pull this foolishness, and that means you're fired, right? That doesn't mean you get a second chance. And so I just encourage parents to just be very observant, but ask the right questions and be able to support, challenge and support their students. You know, it's not just about supporting, it's about challenging as well to help them find that balance. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Well, it's definitely been a wealth of information that we've received this evening. I hope that everyone has had an opportunity to take some great notes. We thank you for joining us, and we wish you well. If you have any questions, just visit the website. All of the recordings, all of our summer series workshops have been recorded, so they will be there for you to look at and get, and share with others. So thank you for joining us, and have a great evening.